Welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC. I'm Dan Thomas from the studio today by Craig Burley and Stevie Nicol. Later on in the show, we'll be paying tribute to Franz Beckenbauer, who passed away today. But we kick things off in the FA Cup. Manchester United away against Wigan. Manchester United through to the next round, where, by the way, they'll play either Newport County or Eastleigh away. Let's get some reaction now. Alexis Nunes caught up with Diogo Dalot after the match.
I think a lot of the lads will be frustrated not to get a goal. I think today we had a lot of chances, especially like clear chances to score goals. And obviously we get a little bit frustrated when the ball doesn't go in. But overall we're going to be more happy with the win and to go through.
Mario joins. Nedum, I can't believe they've made you wait and stay there in the dark, in the cold, in the northeast of England to talk to us.
The northwest of England, did you say, or did you say northeast? I'm trying to figure out what you said then, Dan. What was that?
That's all right. I imagine your ears are frozen. I definitely said northwest, no doubt about that. Take us through the game from your view of it all.
Yeah, so from my view, we were quite high up and we were watching United basically get into a groove. Apart from that chance which you showed for Wigan quite early on in the game, they didn't really pose that much of a threat in attack. I think some of that was due to United being quite aggressive and, slowing Wigan down in transition. And I think overall for United, I think we could all see it ended up being a very comfortable game for them. As soon as that first goal went in, you're sort of wondering, well, will Wigan be able to score? Would they be able to score a couple? And today, not really. I think there were some performances from United players which were good, but realistically, you'd expect them to be good against a side that's essentially mid-table in League One. But they moved the ball well. They showed a bit of confidence, at times. Garnacho at times looked really dangerous. Obviously, Rashford wasn't necessarily at his best, but for me, Mainu in that midfield as a teenager, I thought he looked exceptional. I think his ability to sort of read the game, to control the tempo at times, and I think we saw some upsides for United. But again, it's not a game that many people will sort of use as a fair sort of Bromps of where United are right now. And you probably say, well, the game on the weekend against Spurs is probably a more realistic depiction.
Like to add anything to that, Mr. Burley?
Well, I suppose for United at the moment, there is nothing could be described pre-match as routine. Because they've been so poor and so up and down and so fragile. But this was about as routine once this game started as it was going to be for them, apart from that early chance. But I think Dalot sort of summed it up by saying something and not saying something, in a sense, was we got frustrated basically because we've got a bunch of players in the forward department that are not killing off teams like they should do. And I think that's kind of what he was hinting at. And Rasmus Højlund was the main culprit, to be honest. And he is a young lad, but look, he's playing in the big boy football here. And at a club like Man United, you're scrutinised a lot.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, at the moment, you can't fault his work rate and you can't fault his endeavour, but you can fault his finishing, which is pretty poor.
For United, ahead of this game, it's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't, Stevie, because obviously you beat Wigan, we'll sit and go, well, you should beat Wigan. They're sitting 18th in League One, and obviously if you don't beat them, then it's just chaos.
Yeah, the real interest was that we know the way the game went, the way it finished, that's what we expected. But because of the way Man United had been performing, it was interesting because you're thinking, could they really make a mess of this? Mm-hmm. So that was kind of the interest level. But once that first goal went in, we knew the game was done.
Yeah, that was it, wasn't it, Mario? Obviously, your old side, Wigan, having that early chance, but in the end, the quality from United shone through.
Yeah, because this kind of games is always hard in the sense of, like, if you don't score early, it can always be a handful of games because you're waiting on and you're playing a game, and it's almost like you can never play as good as you want to play against sides like this, and regardless if it's like my older team like Wigan. But yeah, you could see that. And then, of course, Craig already highlighted Højlund. This was his moment to score goals. This was his moment to really make a difference for himself. And I'm not talking even for the team, but when sometimes you see the players, also the reaction of the players, how to get at him, in the sense of like they want him to score. And on the other side, it's also when he says something, you see the reaction of the other players around him. And I think that is kind of the moments that you want to feel like, hey, you got to make it happen, because if not, it's going to take too long. And Ten Hag came out the other day and he spoke about Van der Beek in Holland. And he said that playing for Man United, you ask players to play for a team that has a lot of pressure. But when you come, sometimes it comes down to the individuals because they have to perform at a certain level, regardless if this size of a club is that big. You still got to make it happen. And I think that's what Holland is going through. He's young, but he's still got to score goals. That's why they brought him here.
Yeah, Nedum, obviously he won a lot of fans, given that he came on when he finally got fit. You know, he was involved. You could see that he was passionate, he cared, which obviously an accusation that some United players haven't this season. But at the end of the day, he needs to start scoring goals.
Yeah, you absolutely do. I think for a side that's got aspirations of being up towards the top of the league, like they tend to have a number 9 that's spearheading that sort of attack. And there are times, you know, where players will go through droughts and not have a ton of chances, and there's a bit more sympathy that way. We can talk about service, but you know, if we really look at some of the games that he's had, like he's had some very, very big opportunities, and for him to not be taking them, questions will always be asked. And it was great that he scored his first Premier League goal, but you know, fanfare around the first because it's taken so long isn't something that you want to be doing for yourself when you've made such a big move to the club that he's at now. So I think, you know, for now, he's a young player, as Mario said. I think that's something to not be forgotten, but there is something to be said about leading the line for a team who probably get more viewers than, say, most of the teams in England, if not all of them. Because at the end of the day, you've got people who are rooting for you, and a lot of people who are rooting for you to fail. So whilst those eyes are on you, you need to be able to perform and be able to handle the critics because of the fact that you're doing such a good job for your team. And for me, playing for this, it goes beyond just linking up the play, beyond just running channels. You have to be scoring goals.
It's an intriguing tie, as I mentioned. The draw was made before kick-off. United, and we now know, of course, will be away against Newport County or... what was the other team?
Eastleigh.
Eastleigh, that was it. Yeah, I forgot that for a moment.